Dear students, welcome back. Now we are going to discuss another component of the shoulder complex, that is the scapulothoracic joint. So previously we have learned that the scapulothoracic joint is not a pure anatomical joint, it is only a functional joint. Okay, this scapulothoracic joint is formed by the articulation of the scapula with the thorax. So this is the thorax, and the articulation of the scapula with the thorax forms the scapulothoracic joint. That means the scapula will articulate over the thoracic cage in different directions, forming the scapulothoracic joint. It is not a true anatomic joint. It is not a true anatomic joint because it is not united by any bony segments or any fibrous structures or cartilaginous structures or synovial kinds of tissues, are not connected with these two structures. So it is not a true anatomical joint. Okay, so this is about the articulation of the scapula over the thoracic cage forms the functional joint called scapulothoracic joint, and it is not a true anatomic joint because these two structures are not connected directly by any fibrous tissue or cartilaginous tissue or any synovial tissues. Okay, and the articulations of the scapula with that of the thorax depends on the integrity of the acromioclavicular joint. So the movements of the scapula depend on the thorax depends upon the movements of the acromioclavicular joint as well as the sternoclavicular joints. Okay, this sternoclavicular joint and the acromioclavicular joint are interdependent, or these two joints are interdependent with that of the scapulothoracic motion. So these two joint motions are interdependent on the scapulothoracic motions because the scapula is directly attached to the lateral end of the clavicle by its acromion processes, and this clavicle is in turn joined with the manubrium sterni, which is attached to the axial skeleton. So all these two joints which are interdependent with the scapular motions forms a true closed chain. This forms a true closed chain. That means any movement which occurs in any one of the joint causes movements in other structures. If the scapula is moving, then it causes AC movements. This AC movements causes SC movements, sternoclavicular joint. If there is any movement in the sternoclavicular which causes AC movements, this AC motions causes the scapular movements. Okay, so these three structures forms a true closed chain complex. Okay, next thing, it is very difficult to observe and measure the joint motions of sternoclavicular and acromioclavicular motions individually, but these motions are measured on the basis of movement of the scapula on the thorax. So that only we have studied in the motions of sternoclavicular motions as well as the acromioclavicular motions. We have studied based upon the scapular motions only. Okay, so because of that, such kind of difficulty is present in measuring and observing the movements which are taking place in SC and AC joints. So finally, to measure these movements, they always depends upon the scapulothoracic position and motions. With the help of the scapulothoracic motions, they identified they are measuring this SC and AC joints because all these two joints are dependent on scapulothoracic motions. So because it is a true closed kinematic chain, so any motion which are taking place in any of the structure causes motions in other structures. So based upon all these things, the scapula is somewhat a bigger bone, and the movements which are causing by the scapula on the thorax is more visible than the SC and AC joints. Okay, so for that reason they have taken the scapular motions as a reference to identify the AC and SC joints. So now it is very easy to study the motions of the scapula because we have already studied the motions of the scapula in the AC joint, like upward and downward rotation, anterior and posterior tilting, isn't it? So and protraction and retraction, that is the anterior and posterior, and upward and downward rotations, and also that is called that is seen in elevation and depression movements. Okay, and also internal and external rotations of the scapula we have already seen in the acromioclavicular joint. The same thing here now we are going to discuss in the scapulothoracic joint motions. So those joint motions we have studied on the plane of the scapula. So we have studied on the basis of plane of the scapula. What do you mean by the plane of the scapula? Here we can study it very clearly in this scapulothoracic joint. So the plane of the scapula is nothing but the resting position of the scapula. So how that is the resting position is nothing but the anatomical position of the scapula causes a plane other than the cardinal planes like sagittal and coronal and transverse planes. Okay, it because of its anatomical position of the scapula, it it is having an oblique axis to all this coronal as well as the sagittal axis. Through this only all the movements are taking place. That thing we have studied there. Now we are going to see that a resting position of the scapula is nothing but the plane of the scapula. So the scapula rests on the posterior thorax between second thoracic vertebrae to the seventh thoracic vertebrae. So the scapula rests on the posterior thorax approximately 5 centimeters from the midline. 5 centimeters from the midline. Okay, 5 centimeters from the midline. And in between the second thoracic vertebrae to the seventh thoracic vertebrae. So here you can see very clearly. So this is resting on the posterior thorax approximately 5 centimeters from the midline, 5 centimeters from the midline, and it is present in between the second to seventh ribs of the thorax, so T2 to T7 ribs. Okay, so this is the position of the scapula on the posterior aspect of the thorax. Now, if you see in the superior aspect, so if you see on the posterior aspect, it appears as the position of the scapula is in horizontal position. When we see in the superior view, here you can see the superior view. So this is the posterior part of the thorax, isn't it? Yes, this is the rib and this is the scapula. How the scapula is positioned, so here the scapula is internally rotated. So the scapula is internally rotated. It is not present like this. It is internally rotated. Okay. How much it is internally rotated means, so if it is present in horizontal means this is the plane. So that is the coronal plane. So the bone has to be presented in this manner, but it is not present. So the scapula is rotated internally. The scapula is rotated internally. How much degree it is rotated internally from the coronal plane? So from the coronal plane, the scapula is rotated internally up to 35 to 45 degrees. So 30 to 45 degrees, the scapula is internally rotated. So here it forms an oblique axis or not? Yes. So we have studied some oblique plane, isn't it? Oblique AP axis. So because of this position, like internally rotated, so because of this position, it causes oblique axis. On those oblique axis only, the movements are taking places. But except in the vertical axis will not change. So approximately vertical axis, not exactly, approximately means very slight distance to the vertical axis. So approximately vertical axis movements and oblique AP and oblique coronal axis we have seen in the acromioclavicular joint movements, isn't it? Yes. In the superior view, it is internally rotated. Now, if you see on the lateral aspect, so this is on the lateral aspect. So this is the resting position. How this scapula is present. So it is tilted anteriorly. So this bone is tilted anteriorly. You can see this. The bone is not present in the straight line, isn't it? So it is tilted. So the scapula is tilted anteriorly by 10 to 15 degrees, 10 to 15 degrees or 10 to 20 degrees here they have mentioned. uh, it not makes a big difference here. 10 to 20 degrees from the vertical axis, from the vertical axis. Okay, so this is the thing. So superior view, it is internally rotated. The scapula is internally rotated by 30 to 45 degrees. And when we see with the vertical axis, the scapula is tilted anteriorly, that is 10 to 20 degrees. And the scapula, we have seen this one, this is the position of the scapula on the posterior aspect. But in this position, the scapula is rotated. The scapula is rotated upward, somewhat upward from the vertical up to 5 to 10 degrees. 5 to 10 degrees of rotation of the scapular upward is also present with the reference from the vertical line. Okay, this magnitude of this vertical or the upward rotation, we can take this reference as vertical line, that is the longitudinal axis, which is perpendicular to the axis running from the root of the scapular spine. So this longitudinal axis which is running from the root of the scapular spine to the acromioclavicular joint. Okay, so this is the acromioclavicular joint. So this is running perpendicular to this thing. Okay, so if the vertebral border of the scapula is used as the reference axis, the magnitude of the upward rotation at rest is usually described as 2 degrees to 3 degrees from vertical. Okay, although these normal values for the resting scapula um, are also varied in different individuals. This is the normal scapular resting position in healthy persons. So what is the resting position of the scapula? So the scapula rests on the posterior thorax approximately 5 centimeters from the midline, and it is extends between from second to seventh ribs, and the scapula is internally rotated about 30 to 45 degrees from the coronal plane, and also the scapula is tilted anteriorly 10 to 20 degrees from the vertical plane, as well as the scapula is rotated upwards 5 to 10 degrees from the longitudinal axis. So this is the resting position of the scapula. So based upon this plane or the resting position of the scapula creates one plane, so that based upon that plane only the movements are taking place. Okay, so the motions of the scapula from the resting position, which includes 3 rotations, which we have already studied in the movements of the acromioclavicular joint, because they occur combined together. So these are upward downward rotation, internal and external rotation, and anterior posterior tilting. So again we are going to discuss these three movements with respect to scapulothoracic joint in the next session. Thank you.